So I thought I'd do a first entry in this diary vlog for writing book 3 and getting this draft done. So let's just start with the first thing I'm doing. So what I've decided to do is actually go back to the planning stage just to begin with, and sort of remind myself where I am in this story and what's going on. But I've done it a little bit differently. So I normally just like put everything into a Word document. However, that isn't always the easiest to see, and I have heard people talk about things like Trello and Notion and some other technical things. I thought, let's get in on that, because what I was going to do is get a big sheet of paper, my big roll of paper, and like put post-it notes on everywhere, and that's all well and good. But actually, I have added everything on to Trello. So you can get a free Trello account and you can have so many boards on that Trello, on that free account. But I'm just on the free account right now, and I have put together a board. Took a little bit of time to do, but all I've done this afternoon is I have put the beginnings of my book onto here. Right, we'll put you there. It's a great angle, isn't it?
Nope.
There are 3 different things. So we're on a board, and then you have lists, and then within that list you have cards. I know it was a bit confusing when I first started as well. Now obviously this will contain spoilers for my series, so if you haven't read it, why haven't you? But if you haven't read it and you want to read it, I would read books 1 and 2 first, because you might see some spoilers in this planning format, because obviously this is my planning format. Not really releasing this apart from on here to share sort of how it's working. So I've got one list that's going to go through the characters. Now these first 4 characters, they are my POV, my main characters. So we've got Rayleighs, Wrens, Shars and Foxes. They've all got a colour, and then you'll see in the rest of the board that each chapter has been labelled with that colour, so I know whose POV it is. So I haven't done this yet, but when I click on Rayleigh, I'll put a little description about who she is and their sort of wants, desires, flaws and things like that. And then for those that have a power, so you've got some Daedarians down here, they are druids, so they have druid powers, so I need to put everyone's druid power down so I don't forget. I've then got a list of places, and I've just put a couple here, and some of them I actually do need to name, haven't even named them in the draft yet. So I need to come up with some names. That'll be helpful when I start doing my map. Then we get to the main part of the story. So we've got Act 1, Act 2, Part 1, Act 2, Part 2, and Act 3. Now this is book 3 out of book 4, so of the whole series I'm technically in Act 2 Part 2, so everything's going downhill in this entire book. So in Act 1 I've got the setup, and I've just put what the opening image is and the theme stated, and then we go on to all the different chapters. Now the first 2 acts, I've nearly finished Act 2 Part 1, so I've nearly got halfway in terms of chapters, over halfway in terms of word count. Don't know how that figures out, but what I have done is put down what chapter number it is, just because I already know that information because I've written it in. But for the rest of the book I've just put like a little summary of that chapter, so I know what that chapter is. So I've sort of used this Saves the Cat Writes a Novel, some of the beats, basically 3-act structure but split into 4, with some of the beats from here, other beats from elsewhere. Then we move into Act 2 Part 2. This is all the stuff that I haven't written. So if we go to the end of Part 1, I am currently in chapter 20. So I've actually got 4 more chapters. Oh my god! 4 more chapters to write. Oh gosh. So I need to get on with that. So my book is very clearly split into before the midpoint and after the midpoint. So this after the midpoint stuff I'm quite excited to write, because there's a lot of like power stuff, cursed stuff, there's rebels, there's a rebellion, there's an attack, there's all sorts of stuff going on. Body. So, but she's speaking to the others as if she is Rayleigh, but she's not. still thinking. I need to do a lot of thinking time. Right, so it's nearly time to go and get my son, so I need to sort of pack away in a minute. So now that I've got it all up there, that's really good, because now I can go back. The one thing I will say is I don't normally go back through my planning while I'm in the middle of writing. Well, just because I would tend to prevaricate that way. But I spoke to one of my writer friends and discussed, I was like, one of the issues I'm having is I'm not quite certain, I'm not confident with Ren's character in this. And I'm unsure about Rayleigh's agency in this. I was once told that she needs to take charge, as in your main character needs to take charge and make decisions and stuff like that. And I'm worried that the plot is carrying her, because she's been taken into Daedare, she's with these dark druids, she's losing control on her magic, she needs to get it controlled. Titan wants to use her for her power, and then she ends up connected to this essence. So yeah, there is a lot happening to her. However, one thing that I'm grappling with is, like, do I need to meet that expectation of making sure that Rayleigh has more agency and that she's making more decisions? Because if I think about it in terms of the whole story, this is a 4-book story and we're on book 3, so technically we're on that Act 2 Part 2 for the whole story. So things are hurtling. She thinks she's heading towards one thing, but actually it's something else. You've then got some sort of agency with her mother, which I don't think is very clear in my planning. So that might need looking at, in terms of she's making plans in her head, like, right, she has to get to Titan, she can't escape before she gets to Titan, because she needs to find out where her mother is and try and get her mother away. Once she realizes that her mother's there, she also realizes she has to get control of her power before it overruns her, so there's only so much she can do. But she does plan to leave once she knows where her mother is. It's a whole thing. I think I am hitting some beats in terms of, like, where she can make choices. She is making choices, it's just that then those choices end up being made for her, insofar as, like, well, she now no longer can leave because of Ren being taken. Do you see what I mean? I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna go pick up my son, then work on this another time. I'll see you in the next entry. Drafting book 3 of my NA romantasy series, diary entry 2, and I'm really excited with this diary entry, guys, because I have figured out in my head why things were seeming wrong and how to fix it. I'm so excited to go through this. On the other day, so I think only a few days after I filmed the last diary entry, my friend was over and she reads the same sort of books that I read and write, and she also has read the other books in the series, and she's usually one that I like bounce ideas off and stuff like that, so all that good stuff. So we sat down and I started going through some of the issues that I had. Hello mate, the dog's here. So I started going through some of the problems that I have and some of the issues, and we just, like, I just find it really helpful sometimes having another physical person to, like, bounce those ideas off and discuss things through, because it's quite hard to do it by yourself. Do you just want cuddles? Yeah. So some of the issues I had were to do with Ren and some of his, like, motivations and how he was doing things, like with the whole betrayal and stuff like that. So we had to delve into his past, which I already had like flashbacks written out. So what we've done is, well, at the end of book 2, I had written a certain character to potentially be another spy type person. It wasn't confirmed. I just wrote them in a way that when you look back on it, it could be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So in the planning that I've done for book 3, nothing had come of that, so I just left it as this character. But when I spoke to my friend about things and how I wanted some of these flashbacks to go, and we're trying to give Ren that motivation, that deeper level of characterization where he has those the deep wants, the desires, what's his flaws, what does he have to overcome, that sort of thing. And part of that included this character. And when I told her one of the ideas that I'd had for this character, and I was like, am I being a bit too crazy? Am I being a bit too out there? And she said that she thought it could work. Tried it through for a long time, and I'm doing it. I'm adding this character in, and this character is going to be like another antagonist. I wasn't going to do a point of view from Titan, the main antagonist, because I didn't think it would add that much more to the story. He's just this power-hungry, evil druid guy who wants to use Rayleigh and get her power. So I just didn't feel like it would add anything to have his POV. I didn't want to be adding in POVs for no reason. And this book already has Ren, Rayleigh, Fox and Shah. So it already has 4 POVs. So then we spoke about it and we decided to get that sort of balance, that extraness, that's a cool word. We decided, well not we, but you know, we discussed, and I'm going to have a POV from this new character. So from another antagonist, because his story is definitely worth telling and definitely adds to it. And you know, we really discussed this through, and I think I've got a really good like characterization. At one point we were like, oh, does that seem a little bit mean? And so, but I'm so excited because this character is going to bring about so much heartache, and there is a very evil part of me that's very gleeful about this and cannot wait. So I wrote loads of notes, and so we've got this new character sorted, and what I've just done is I've just recently gone onto my Trello board and added like his chapters in to the Trello board. And I tell you what, I'm really glad I did the Trello board last time, so I finished that off since our last diary entry. I finished inputting all the stuff I already had from my old planning, and I was able to like insert these new chapters, but also I had to move a couple of chapters around, a couple of scenes around because of the new stuff added in and timelines and all that shabam. And it was just so easy, I could just move it on my Trello board. It was great. Absolutely loved it. So I think this is definitely going to be a game changer for me, the Trello board. We found quite a few, or we discussed quite a few, I wouldn't say plot holes, but I would say very weak plot points. And I think, so not having the strong enough motivation or reasoning for Ren, not having these weak plot areas, and then not having this new character. I think when I was writing it, and one of the issues I had with this book and my motivation writing it and feeling lost, part of that was due to, I think, my gut telling me that there were issues with the planning that needed sorting. I think why I went back to the Trello board, started the Trello board and went back to my planning. See, I just really need to listen to my gut a bit more, really, don't I? So of course some of the issues I had writing were to do with like my anxiety and my health and the expectations that I'd put on myself, but I do think a big part of it was, I think, at my heart knowing that it wasn't quite right, because as soon as we finished discussing this and I was busy writing down notes and we were talking and getting energetic, I felt enthused again. I felt, oh my god, I am so excited to actually get in and write this, and I'd been missing that feeling. So I think now my motivation and my desire to write this, I think, has come from fixing the weak plot areas, fixing Ren's character, adding in this new one that I had. Subconscious Rianne works really well, who I'd subconsciously in the last book written in a way that he could be a spy, and it just works beautifully, so I'm really happy. There were a few issues that I had not made clear that obviously I can't change because of book 1 and book 2. So one of those was, why did Ren not take Rayleigh right at the very beginning? Because it wasn't like he had to get close to her to be able to escape with her. He first met her out of the palace grounds. They were in the town when she snuck out in book 1 to go and sort of spy on the contestants to see who was going to be in the trials. And that's when he first met her. Deliberately, we find out in this book, he deliberately followed her and met her for the first time. So he could have easily taken her then. And I just stopped and looked at my friend and went, we may need to backtrack on this plot hole because we cannot fix what has already been written. So we had to fix that. So one of the things we have done, he was sent to find out why Rayleigh's power wasn't activated, like what was concealing her power, which I think I thought about last time anyway, but it hadn't been mentioned in the books. Also to get some general information from the heart of things, because they've never been able to infiltrate before, but also to find out if they knew about the artifacts that were mentioned in book 2 from the original Dark Druid. In book 1, what happens, which we will find out throughout this book, I think, but this is just a backstory that makes things make more sense for book 1, is he writes to them and says, no, they don't know, I will look for it. So on the down low, he's actually been looking for this crown. It was, I think there were 3 artifacts. One was a crown. And also in book 2, when they go to Ashmere, it explains a lot of his absence, because he is actually absent quite a bit, and he does a lot of searching there as well, along with some other bits and bobbies. So he's actually been doing that, but he's been looking for it and using that as an excuse as to why he's not brought Rayleigh in. So when Cole sends him this note, so Cole is a new character in book 3, he's one of the Dark Druids, okay, and he's like sort of in charge of this little group to come and get Ren and Rayleigh. So when Cole sends him that note at the end of book 2, basically saying, get your ass here with her, you've run out of time, there's no more excuses, blah blah blah, Ren is like, oh shit, because now somehow Cole found out that they had the journal and they knew about the artifacts. It's just all coming together. I love it. I cannot wait to write book 3, guys. I think it's going to be quite beefy. So I am going to go, I wanted to do this diary entry now so I can look back on this enthusiasm that I have for it after this like planning session and discussion session. And sometimes that's all you need. And then I am going to start writing again, but we're going to go back to the beginning, because there's a few chapters I need to add in. Within the chapters that I already have, I need to be updating certain actions, certain speech, certain POVs. So I need to go back through anyway, and I think I'll be happier once I've gone back through and edited what I have. So currently, my plan was to have about 90,000 words, and I'm on 47. So word count wise, I'm over halfway, but judging by my planning, I am not. I reckon we could be reaching about 100k, which will be absolutely mad, guys. I've got most of, Act 1 and most of Act 2 Part 1. There's like a prologue-y type chapter I want to put in at the very beginning, and I don't know, I'm unsure if it needs it, so I'm going to write it, add it in, because it'll be quite short, and then we'll see. I think it sets it up for us knowing about this character. Oh, not sure. Anyway, and then I think there's just a couple of chapters that I need to add into this. I've got until the end of July. I think I'm going to give myself to the end of next week. To go through what I've got, edit, and write the rest of Act 2 Part 1, because then I'm going to give myself the next 4 weeks, which will take us like to 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll take me to the week before I go away at the end of August to write the rest of it. So what I'll probably do is put Vlog Diary 1 and 2 together, and then the next few diary entries will be like actually doing some vlogs. Well, so instead of it being like a diary chatty entry, we'll do some vlogs trying to get this written. Can we do it? I don't know, but wish me luck. We are starting. Let's go.